The alien court was alive with noise and color. Thousands of creatures from different worlds filled the grand chamber, whispering and laughing as they stared at the lone human standing in the center. His name was Captain Aaron Vale, once a respected officer of Earth's fleet, now a prisoner on trial before the Valoran king himself. The walls shimmered with strange symbols, and the air carried the scent of burning metal. Aaron stood straight even though his wrists were bound by glowing silver cuffs that pulsed with every heartbeat. He looked small compared to the towering aliens around him, but there was something in his eyes that made a few of them fall silent. A tall alien judge with a ridged face and gold eyes pointed at him. "You stand accused of defying the Valoran Empire. Your ships trespassed into forbidden space. Your kind destroyed what you did not understand." The crowd hissed in agreement. Some shouted insults. A few threw shining dust that dissolved before it could reach him. Aaron didn't move. "We came to help," he said, his voice calm. "The people on that planet called for aid. They were dying." "Lies," shouted another alien. "No one asked humans for help. You simply wanted to play heroes again." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Even the alien nobles smirked, watching the lone man as if he were part of a performance. They called his kind weak, emotional, unworthy of respect in a galaxy ruled by the strong. But on the throne above them all sat the Valoran king, silent and motionless. His armor glowed like molten gold, and his eyes burned like small suns. He studied Aaron without a word. Beside him stood Princess Sarathia, the king's daughter. Her skin shimmered with blue and silver scales, her gaze sharp and curious. She leaned toward her father. "Why are we wasting time on him? Humans are nothing. Even our younglings could crush their fleets." The king didn't reply at first. When he finally spoke, his voice rolled like thunder, because he walked into this court without fear. That single sentence made the room fall quiet. Aaron raised his head and met the king's eyes. "Fear doesn't help anyone," he said. "If you think I came here to save myself, you're wrong. I came here because the people you attacked had no one else." A murmur rippled through the audience. The alien nobles whispered, confused and annoyed by the human's calmness. The king stood. "You speak boldly for a man surrounded by enemies. Tell me, human, do you believe your words will save you?" Aaron's voice stayed firm. "No, but maybe they'll remind you of something your empire forgot." The king's expression changed slightly. A faint shadow crossed his golden eyes. "And what is that?" Aaron looked straight at him. Mercy gasps filled the room. The word carried a strange power. Some aliens laughed again, but their laughter felt forced now. Others glanced at each other, uneasy. The king descended from his throne, his heavy steps echoing. He stopped only a few feet from Aaron and studied him closely. "You speak of mercy while wearing the uniform of war." Aaron replied softly. "Sometimes mercy is all that keeps war from becoming endless." For a moment, the king said nothing. Then he turned toward his daughter. "This one is different." Princess Sarathia frowned. "He's a human." "Yes," said the king. "That's what worries me." He raised his staff and the guards stepped forward. "Take him to the cryo hall. Let him rest before tomorrow's trial." The crowd erupted again, half cheering, half protesting. The guards grabbed Aaron's arms and pulled him away. He didn't resist. As he was led through the massive doors, he glanced back once and saw the princess still watching him. When the doors closed behind him, the king remained silent for a long time. Finally, one of the judges asked carefully, "My king, why spare him? He's only one human." The king's golden eyes narrowed. "Because when he spoke, I felt something I have not felt in centuries." The hall grew still. "And what was that, my lord?" The king turned toward the great window where the stars burned bright. His voice was low. "Fear," he said. "The fear that humanity has not yet shown its full strength." Deep under the shining palace of Valora, the cryo hall was cold and silent. Blue light pulsed from the walls and mist rolled across the floor like soft clouds. Captain Aaron Vale sat on the edge of a metal bench, his breath turning white in the freezing air. His hands were still chained, but his mind was not. He had faced death before, in the vacuum of space, in battles where every second meant life or loss, but this was different. Here he was surrounded by creatures who thought humans were myths of the past. To them, Earth was a small, broken world that should have faded long ago. Yet he was here, alive, and that fact alone was enough to disturb the court. Footsteps echoed in the chamber. Aaron looked up as a faint blue glow appeared between the columns. Princess Sarathia stepped into the light, her long silver cloak trailing behind her. 2 guards followed but stayed near the door. She approached the human slowly, her sharp eyes watching him like a scientist studying something rare. "You should not be awake," she said softly. "Cryo chambers are meant to put prisoners to sleep." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe your machines don't understand human minds. We don't freeze easily." Her expression didn't change, but something in her tone softened. "You are bold, even now when the court laughs at you." He met her gaze calmly. "It's easier to be bold when you've already lost everything." She studied him for a moment, then asked, "Why do you care so much for a world that wasn't even yours? The planet you defended, those Saurians, were not human." Aaron looked down at his hands, the light reflecting in his eyes. "Because they asked for help. That's all that matters." The princess tilted her head. "No one helps without reason. There must be something you gain." He looked up again. "Maybe not everything has to be about gain." For the first time, Sarathia didn't know what to say. Her entire empire was built on power, exchange, and control. The idea of helping others without a reward was something alien to her. After a long silence, she said quietly, "You are strange, human. And yet, you frighten my father." Aaron frowned. "Your father is a king who commands fleets. Why would he fear one man?" She looked around to make sure the guards weren't listening. Then she whispered, "Because long ago humans destroyed an empire far greater than ours. My father studied your wars, your rise, your fall. He said if humans ever reached the stars again, they would shake the galaxy." Aaron didn't reply. He didn't deny it either. He knew what humanity had done in its early days of expansion, how quickly they learned, how fiercely they fought, and how much they were willing to sacrifice. The princess turned to leave but stopped near the door. "Tomorrow, when you stand before the court, they will demand your death. My father may not protect you again." Aaron stood up, the chains rattling softly. "Then I'll face it like a human should." Her eyes met his again, uncertain but curious. "And what does that mean?" "It means standing until the very end." She left without another word. The door closed, leaving Aaron alone in the cold again. But now something had changed. Somewhere inside that vast alien empire, a small seed of doubt had been planted. In the king's heart, in the princess's mind. And soon in the people who would watch the trial. The next morning, the grand court filled once more. The crowd was even larger than before, eager to see the human's final judgment. The air hummed with energy as the king took his throne. The princess stood beside him, her expression unreadable. Guards brought Aaron forward. His chains glowed brightly, reacting to his heartbeat. Yet he walked calmly, every step steady. The laughter started again from the alien nobles, but this time it sounded weaker, unsure. The king raised his hand. Silence fell instantly. "Captain Aaron Vale," he said, his voice deep and powerful. "You are charged with defiance against the Valoran Empire. Do you have anything to say before your sentence?" Aaron looked around the vast chamber, meeting the eyes of hundreds of alien species. He saw pride, arrogance, but also curiosity and fear. He took a breath. "You call me defiant. Maybe I am, but defiance is what keeps the weak alive when the strong forget mercy. You think humans are small, but every empire that underestimated us has fallen. Not because we are stronger, but because we don't give up." The crowd stirred. Some hissed. Some whispered. Aaron's voice grew louder. "You rule by fear. We survive by hope. You mock me for standing here alone, but I'm not alone. Every human on Earth would stand where I stand if it meant protecting someone who needed help." The chamber vibrated with murmurs. Even the king's golden eyes flickered. "Enough," the king said finally. "You speak brave words, but words do not win wars." Aaron nodded. "You're right. Actions do." He lifted his bound hands. The glowing chains pulsed once, then suddenly dimmed. A small spark of light shot from his wrist device, a hidden signal transmitter that had been silent until now. The king's eyes widened. "What did you—" Before he could finish, a deep tremor rolled through the palace. The lights flickered. The court gasped as distant thunder echoed through the walls. Then came the sound no Valoran expected to hear. A human ship's arrival signal, ancient but powerful, breaking through the planet's defense grid. Aaron looked up calmly. "That sound," he said, "means Earth heard the call." For the first time in centuries, fear returned to the alien court. The sound echoed through the great court like thunder from another world. For a moment, everyone stood frozen. The nobles, the guards, even the king. None of them had expected to hear that signal again. The deep hum of the human ship vibrated through the marble floor, a sound older than most of the empires gathered in that hall. Captain Aaron Vale stood calmly as the glowing chains around his wrists flickered and went dark. The alien guards hesitated, not knowing whether to attack or run. The air smelled of electricity and fear. The king rose slowly from his throne, his golden eyes fixed on Aaron. "What have you done, human?" he demanded, his voice low but sharp. Aaron didn't flinch. "I sent a signal before I entered this court. A call for backup just in case I didn't come back." Gasps filled the chamber. The nobles began shouting, their voices full of anger and disbelief.
"Impossible,"
one cried. "No human fleet could reach Valora. Their ships are weak. Their worlds are broken." But the deep sound came again, this time closer. The ceiling trembled and thin streams of dust fell from the high crystal dome. Princess Sarathia stepped forward, her face pale with disbelief. "Father, the scanners are detecting something in orbit. It's not Valoran. It's human." The king's claws tightened around his staff. "Show me." A shimmering image appeared in the air above the court. It showed the dark shape of a ship emerging from the void, massive, silent, and covered in black armor that seemed to swallow light itself. Across its hull glowed a single word in old Terran letters: Solar Warden. The audience gasped again. Even the judges stood in shock. That name was a myth, an ancient Earth warship said to have vanished centuries ago, lost during humanity's last stand. Aaron's lips curved into a small, tired smile. That ship was built to defend a world that never stopped believing in honor. "Looks like it still remembers," the king's voice thundered. "This is a provocation. Do you mean to start another war?" Aaron shook his head. "No, I mean to finish one." Before the guards could reach him, the palace doors burst open. A group of armored figures stormed in, their suits sleek and marked with the insignia of Earth Command. Their helmets reflected the light like polished steel, and their movements were fast and precise. The aliens drew their weapons, but the humans didn't raise theirs. The leader, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek, saluted Aaron. "Captain Vale, sir. We received your distress signal. Orders are to extract you alive." The king's voice roared through the hall. "No one leaves this court without my permission." Aaron turned toward him, his voice steady. "Then maybe it's time you remembered that power doesn't last forever." The alien guards charged, but the humans activated their shields, creating a blue barrier that sent energy bolts bouncing away. The court erupted in chaos. The nobles screamed. Some tried to flee. Others drew weapons of their own, but the humans moved like shadows, never firing first, only defending. Through it all, the king watched silently. His gaze locked with Aaron's. The hall was filled with noise and panic, but for a brief second the two leaders stood in a strange calm. Warrior to warrior, clear to soldier, the king finally spoke, his voice cold. "You could destroy us. But what then, human? You'll rule by fear, just as you accuse us of doing?" Aaron took a slow step forward, chains falling from his wrists. "No, that's the difference between us. You conquer because you fear losing control. We fight because we can't stand watching others suffer." The words cut deep. Even Princess Sarathia felt them. She turned to her father, torn between loyalty and doubt. The king's voice lowered. "You think mercy makes you strong? It makes you weak. Empires fall because of mercy." Aaron looked toward the ceiling where the hologram of the massive ship still hovered. "Maybe. But sometimes mercy is the only thing that keeps us human." The tremor of engines filled the chamber again as the Solar Warden adjusted its position above the capital. The sky outside turned silver from its thrusters. Every being on the planet could see it now, a symbol of a forgotten world that refused to die. The princess stepped closer to her father. "If you harm him, humanity will not stop," she whispered. "And if you spare him, maybe they will remember peace." The king's claws flexed, the gold light from his staff dimming slightly. He looked at his daughter, then back at the human standing proud before him. Around them, his court waited for his decision, terrified of what might come next. Finally, the king raised his hand. "Enough!" The fighting stopped. The humans lowered their shields. Silence fell again. The king spoke with a voice that shook the pillars. "Captain Aaron Vale of Earth, leave Valor in space. Take your ship and your men. But know this, if you return, I will not hesitate again." Aaron nodded. Then I hope I never have to. As he turned to leave, Sarathia stepped forward. Wait, she said quietly. The court mocked you, but you stood tall. I will remember that. Aaron met her eyes, a brief flicker of respect passing between them. Then there's hope for your world yet. He walked toward the light streaming from the open doors, his men following behind. The king watched until they were gone. Only when the echo of their steps faded did he speak again, his voice heavy. Prepare the fleet, he said. If humans have returned to the stars, the age of comfort is over. And high above the planet, the Solar Warden turned slowly, its engines glowing like suns as it vanished into the black sea of space, carrying the quiet promise that Earth was no longer silent. The Solar Warden moved silently through space, leaving Valora's orbit behind. Its dark hull reflected distant stars, and the faint hum of its engines filled the quiet bridge. Captain Aaron Vale stood at the command console, watching the planet shrink into the blackness. Behind him, his crew worked efficiently, checking systems and monitoring communications. Every movement was precise, practiced, and calm. Sir, said Lieutenant Mara, her voice steady. Sensors are picking up a small fleet moving toward Valora. It looks like the king is sending forces after us. Aaron nodded. Let them come. We have no intention of fighting unless we have to. This is a rescue, not a war. Mara raised an eyebrow. A rescue? From the court of a king who nearly executed you? Aaron didn't answer immediately. He looked at the view screen, seeing the swirling clouds of Valora's atmosphere. The court mocks, but there is more to the galaxy than mockery. Sometimes fear teaches respect faster than diplomacy ever could. The crew exchanged glances, understanding his meaning but not fully. Aaron had a way of turning impossible situations into lessons in patience and courage. That was why he was still alive when so many others had fallen. Meanwhile, on Valora, the king stood in the empty court. His throne room was quiet now, the echoes of chaos fading. He turned to Princess Sarathia, who still wore the look of someone torn between duty and curiosity. You saw it, he said, his voice low. One human alone caused more fear than half my fleet. What does that tell you? Sarathia hesitated. It tells me we underestimate them. Always. The king's eyes glimmered. Humans are clever, stubborn, and unpredictable. They survive in ways no one else can. That human, Vale, reminded me that survival is not just about weapons or armies. It's about willpower. Sarathia frowned. You sound almost afraid of him. The king's golden gaze hardened. Fear is not weakness. It is a guide. Do not mistake caution for cowardice. Back on the Solar Warden, Aaron reviewed the data they had collected from Valora. Communication signals, energy readings, and structural maps flowed across the consoles. He studied them quietly, already planning. Sir, Mara said again, we should report this to Earth. They will want to know the king's reaction, the fleet deployment, and the planet's defenses. Aaron shook his head. Not yet. Let the king think we are gone. He has not yet realized the full extent of human capability. We leave no trace until the time is right. The bridge grew quiet again, only the soft hum of the ship's systems filling the air. Aaron's eyes, however, were focused on a single point in the starfield, a distant signal beacon he had picked up from a nearby system. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. What is that? Asked Mara. Aaron smiled faintly. An ally. Someone who saw what we were trying to do and believes in the same cause. They will meet us ahead of time. We need every advantage we can get. As the ship moved deeper into uncharted space, the crew began to feel a sense of purpose beyond survival. They were not just soldiers. They were messengers of Earth's determination, a reminder that even small, underestimated worlds could make a difference in a galaxy ruled by ancient powers. Meanwhile, on Valora, the king convened an emergency meeting. High-ranking officers and generals gathered around, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and tension. The human survived our court, and now he leaves without harm, the king said, pacing slowly. He is no ordinary human. He possesses courage, cunning, and a will stronger than many Valoran leaders combined. Eh? Need answers. One general stepped forward. My king, should we pursue them? Destroy the ship before it reaches the outer systems? The king shook his head. No, let him go for now. If we strike in haste, we show weakness. Let him move, let him gather strength. Then we will know exactly what we face. Sarathia listened silently, her mind racing. Father, what if he is more than one human? What if there are others waiting? The king stopped pacing. He looked at her, his golden eyes sharp. Then we must be ready. This is only the beginning. One human has already changed the course of our judgment. Imagine what a fleet of them could do. Back on the Solar Warden, Aaron's crew prepared for the next jump. The distant beacon pulsed steadily, guiding them to their rendezvous. Aaron stood at the viewport watching the stars stretch as the ship accelerated. He knew the king's court would never forget today. The mockery, the laughter, the doubt, it had all shifted. Fear, respect, and curiosity had been planted, and the seeds would grow faster than the Valoran Empire expected. "Prepare the jump coordinates," he said calmly. "We have work to do and a galaxy to remind that humans never stop fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves." And as the Solar Warden disappeared into the darkness of space, the first true step of a larger plan began. A plan that would test every world, challenge every empire, and prove that even the smallest voice could echo across the stars with unstoppable force. The Solar Warden moved silently through the void, stars stretching into lines as the ship accelerated. Captain Aaron Vale stood at the viewport, his eyes scanning the endless black. The distant pulse of the beacon grew stronger, guiding them toward a hidden system where allies waited. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, preparing the ship for the jump. Every sensor was checked, every weapon system tested, though Aaron knew they would not fight unless it became necessary. This mission was about strategy, not recklessness. Lieutenant Mara approached him, her expression cautious but eager. "Sir, the King's fleet may still pursue us. They have resources no human ship could match. What's the plan if they catch up?" Aaron's gaze did not leave the stars. "If they catch up, we will show them why humans do not rely on brute force alone. Speed, precision, and unpredictability are our weapons." A soft alarm chimed from the console. Mara checked it quickly. "Beacon signals confirm. Life forms detected on the target planet." "They are expecting us," Aaron nodded. "Good. That means the network of allies is active. Prepare the communications link. I want to speak to them before we arrive." The crew scrambled to respond. Lights blinked, screens flickered, and the quiet hum of the ship filled the bridge as the connection established. A holographic image appeared above the console, showing a small planet surrounded by green clouds and floating sensors. A figure stepped forward from the image. It was a humanoid, but not entirely human. Pale blue skin, translucent hair that glowed faintly, and eyes that shone with intelligence. "Captain Vale," the being said, voice clear and firm, "we have been monitoring the Valoran Empire. Your arrival was anticipated, but your presence alone has unsettled them greatly." Aaron studied the figure. "Good. What support do you have ready?" "We have stealth ships positioned in orbit. We have access to communication nodes throughout the system. Your arrival will be covered, but the king will be watching." "He always watches," Aaron smiled faintly. "That's exactly what I need. Keep the defenses ready, but stay invisible for now. We don't need unnecessary battles," the hologram nodded. "Understood. Timing will be critical." Aaron turned to his crew. "We are not just entering a system. We are sending a message. The message is simple. Humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive when innocent lives are at stake." Mara swallowed, feeling the weight of the words. "Sir, the King's fleet is vast. Even with stealth and allies, this could become dangerous." Aaron's gaze remained steady. "Danger is part of every mission worth doing. Fear will not guide us. Action and purpose will." The Solar Warden slowed as it approached the system's edge. Tiny points of light flickered in orbit, invisible to any standard sensor but clearly present to Aaron's calibrated equipment. He could feel the pulse of the hidden network through the ship's systems, a quiet heartbeat of coordination and readiness. A sudden vibration ran through the hull. The ship's sensors picked up movement, Valoran scouts emerging from the darkness. Their triangular shapes glinted in the distant light. Aaron's hand rested lightly on the console. "Report. They are scanning, trying to detect us," Mara said. "They have not yet locked in. If we move carefully, we can slip past them." Aaron nodded. "Prepare the cloaking sequence. Once we enter the system, the king will know we are here, but he will not know our numbers or our position." The ship shimmered and vanished from standard detection, leaving only a faint energy trace that would confuse Valoran sensors. The scouts passed by, unaware of the dark vessel moving silently in the void. Inside the Solar Warden, the crew breathed easier. They had passed the first test. Aaron allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. This was why humans endured: adaptation, courage, and patience. The holographic figure reappeared. You are close. The planet is prepared for your arrival. Evacuation points, supply caches, and communication arrays are ready. The king's influence does not extend this far. Yet, Aaron nodded. Good, prepare for drop. I want my team ready to land and establish contact immediately. We have no time to waste. The crew moved efficiently, checking harnesses, sealing compartments, and preparing the drop pods. Every member knew their role. Every move practiced countless times. But Aaron knew that the real challenge would not be the landing. It would be the confrontation to come. He looked once more at the distant planet, green and alive, a stark contrast to the cold emptiness of space. Remember this, he said softly, though loud enough for the crew to hear. Every empire that underestimates humans pays a price. Today we show them why. The Solar Warden's engines glowed brighter and the ship began its descent toward the planet's hidden orbit. Below, the Allies waited, cloaked but ready. Every detail had been considered, every risk calculated, but the human spirit, as Aaron knew, could turn even the smallest chance into victory. As the first drop pod separated from the Solar Warden, sliding silently toward the planet, Aaron felt the weight of history pressing down. This mission was more than a rescue. It was a statement, a warning, and the galaxy would remember it. The drop pod slipped silently through the planet's atmosphere, glowing faintly as they cut through clouds of green and silver. Captain Aaron Vale felt the subtle vibrations under his feet, the hum of the engines matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. Every second mattered. Every decision could shape the outcome of the mission. Lieutenant Mara checked her controls one last time. All pods on course. No detection yet. Sensors confirm the Valoran fleet is still at the edge of the system. Aaron nodded. Good, keep it that way. Stealth is our advantage, not just our armor. Outside the viewports, the hidden allies waited, cloaked in shadows, their ships reflecting no light, no signature. The Valoran scouts passed overhead, scanning for intruders, but the humans moved like ghosts through the void. When the first pods landed, the crews emerged into a world both beautiful and strange. The sky glimmered with a soft aurora, and floating flora shimmered as though alive. Yet the threat of discovery hung over them, a heavy weight pressing against the excitement of arrival. Aaron led the team through the dense terrain, moving with careful precision. His eyes scanned constantly, noting every shadow, every movement. The hidden allies were close, guiding them through safe paths, communicating through encrypted signals. This way, a pale blue figure said softly, stepping from the shadows. Its voice was calm, confident, but with an undercurrent of urgency. The communication nodes are here. We can establish a secure line to coordinate the planet's defenses. Aaron glanced at the landscape. Alien trees with crystalline leaves swayed gently in the wind, but he knew beauty did not mean safety. Do it quickly. The longer we remain exposed, the higher the risk. The team split into small squads. Engineers set up the nodes while Aaron and Mara scouted the perimeter. Every movement was careful, deliberate. Every step could reveal them to Valoran sensors. High above, the Valoran fleet had started to move. The king had been alerted to the presence of humans in the system. His massive ships glinted in space, their formation precise and threatening. Yet none dared move too close without confirming the human's position. Aaron watched the monitors, noting the precise timing of each Valoran maneuver. They're cautious, he said. They don't want to trigger us yet. That's good, Mara frowned. Good? Captain, they could strike at any moment. How is that good? Aaron smiled faintly. Caution is a weapon we can exploit. Every second they hesitate gives us more advantage. Patience is as deadly as speed. In the meantime, the communication nodes linked with the planet's network. Hidden bases powered up, supply caches unlocked, and messages spread among the inhabitants. The small population that had survived the Valoran attacks rallied, guided by the humans' arrival. Hope returned, fragile but alive. Aaron walked among them, speaking quietly to leaders and scouts. Your world is alive because you refuse to surrender. Today we will show them that courage matters more than numbers. They may laugh at one human, but they will never mock the will of many. The pale blue ally watched him closely. You inspire them quickly. Few humans have this presence. Aaron looked at the planet, its forests and mountains stretched below, untouched by Valoran fleets, yet vulnerable. Humans have a simple rule, he said. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That principle has carried us further than any weapon. Above them, the first Valoran probes entered the atmosphere, tiny fast ships that scanned for life signs. Aaron signaled, and the Allied defense grid activated. Energy pulses shimmered across the sky, creating false readings, decoys, and interference that confused the Valoran scanners. The probes faltered, reporting inconsistent data back to the fleet. The king, observing from his flagship, narrowed his eyes. This human, he manipulates even my eyes and ears. No ordinary being could achieve this. Prepare a strike team. Find him, but proceed with caution. Aaron did not panic. He watched the sky, noting the faint glints of probes and distant ships. They are coming, he said. But they will find only preparation, not panic. Let them learn that Earth's courage travels faster than their fleets. The squads finished securing the planet's communication lines. Hidden allies dispersed, blending back into the environment. Aaron's team moved to a high vantage point overlooking the central valley, ready to guide the remaining defenses. Mara glanced at him. Captain, what if the king personally arrives? What then? Aaron's eyes glimmered with determination. Then we remind him why one human can change the course of a galaxy. It's not ships or weapons, it's resolve. The distant hum of engines grew louder, signaling the approach of the Valoran strike fleet. Shadows moved across the valleys. The king's forces were ready to descend, confident in their numbers. But Aaron had a plan, patience, and a principle stronger than fear. As the first Valoran ships entered the atmosphere, their shadows stretching across the forests, Aaron took a deep breath. Hold steady, he said. Let them see us and then show them what humans are capable of. The stage was set. The confrontation would not be simple. The king's pride, the Valoran fleet's power, and centuries of empire would collide with one human's will, a few loyal allies, and the courage of those who refused to be oppressed. And in that quiet moment before the storm, Aaron Vale knew that this fight would not only decide the fate of this planet, it would echo across the stars, marking the beginning of a story that no empire could ignore. The Valoran strike fleet descended into the planet's atmosphere, their sleek ships glinting like shards of metal under the green light. Captain Aaron Vale watched from the high ridge, his eyes steady, his mind calm. This was the moment he had prepared for, the confrontation that would test courage, strategy, and resolve against one of the galaxy's oldest empires. Lieutenant Mara scanned the fleet through her instruments. Sir, they outnumber us 10-1. Their firepower is overwhelming. Aaron nodded, but he did not falter. Numbers alone do not win battles. Timing, positioning, and willpower do. Remember that. The hidden allies moved into position across the valleys, their ships cloaked, their weapons ready but silent. The planet's inhabitants watched from safe distances, hope flickering in their eyes as the humans prepared for what seemed impossible. Above, the king's flagship emerged, larger and more imposing than any other ship in the fleet. From it, a signal pulsed across the system, a warning and a challenge. The king's voice, amplified and commanding, resonated through the atmosphere. Captain Aaron Vale, surrender now and your people will live. Defy me and you will witness the end of your species' reach in this galaxy. Aaron stepped forward, his figure silhouetted against the horizon. His voice carried clearly, unwavering. I do not fight to destroy. I fight to protect. If that threatens you, so be it. But know this, the people I protect will never surrender and neither will I. The first Valoran ships opened fire, energy bolts streaking toward the valley. Aaron's team activated the planet's defense grid, and the shots were deflected by shimmering shields and decoys. The aliens had not expected such coordinated resistance. Their attacks hit nothing but empty terrain, confusing the fleet. Mara's voice was calm but tense. They're adjusting. They'll find a weak point soon. Aaron shook his head. Let them look. The longer they search, the more mistakes they make. Patience is our ally. The king's flagship moved lower, its shadow stretching over the valley like a dark sun. From it, elite strike teams were deployed to land, their boots striking the ground with authority. Aaron's squads engaged them strategically, using speed and precision rather than brute force. Every move was calculated, every action purposeful. The humans and allies managed to intercept the landing teams before they could advance, pushing them back with coordinated strikes and energy pulses. The Valorans were skilled warriors, but they had underestimated the humans' ability to inspire and direct allies. Aaron saw a path forming in the chaos, a narrow ridge leading directly toward the king's landing point. He turned to Mara. This is our chance. We move together fast and focused. The king himself cannot hide behind his fleet forever. The squads advanced, moving with silent determination, avoiding the main fire and forcing the Valorans into defensive positions. The king watched from his flagship, fury in his golden eyes. One human dares to challenge me directly? Aaron reached the edge of the ridge. Below him the king's personal guards waited, tall, armored, and imposing. But Aaron did not falter. He raised his voice, not in threat but in clarity. I do not come to fight you because I hate you. I come because you must understand. Power without mercy is fragile. Strength without courage is meaningless. The king descended to the ridge, stepping forward with calculated grace. His voice was a low growl. Do you truly believe words will stop me, human? Aaron met him, standing unarmed, confident, and resolute. I do not rely on words alone. I rely on action, courage, and the will to protect what is right. That is a human strength you have not faced before. The king studied him, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across his expression. Centuries of dominance had taught him that strength alone won battles. But humans were different. Their resolve, their courage, and their willingness to protect others had shifted the balance. Above, the fleet hesitated. The shields and interference devices disrupted their sensors. They could not discern where Aaron was or how many allies were hidden. Confusion spread through the Valoran forces. Aaron's squad held firm, guiding the planet's defenders forward. Slowly, deliberately, they pressed toward the king's position. The humans did not attack recklessly. Their presence, their courage, their calm determination was a statement, a message to the king and to the entire fleet. Finally, the king raised his clawed hand. Enough. His voice echoed over the battlefield. You have shown me something unexpected, human. You are not merely clever, you are relentless. You do not fight for power or glory. You fight because you cannot ignore injustice, Aaron nodded. That is correct, and we will continue to fight as long as it is needed. The king paused, then slowly lowered his hand. The fleet ceased fire. Silence fell over the valley. For the first time in centuries, a Valoran army had been stopped, not by force but by courage and strategy. The king's eyes softened slightly as he looked at Aaron. Leave this world. Take your people. You have earned respect, human, perhaps more than I expected. Aaron turned toward his crew and allies. We leave, but the lesson remains. Courage, determination, and honor cannot be measured in numbers or fleets. They are what make us truly strong. As the Solar Warden and allied ships ascended from the planet, the king watched, silent but thoughtful. The human had not only survived, he had proven that a single determined individual could alter the course of empires. And as the stars embraced the departing fleet, Aaron Vale knew the galaxy had witnessed something remarkable. Humanity's courage, its will, and its unyielding determination. The story of one human against a great empire would echo far and wide, reminding every being in the galaxy that strength was not only in weapons, but in heart and resolve.